And Roman Reigns now with a drive-by.
When Roman Reigns walks into a hospital, it's rarely for sympathy. Tonight, after Monday Night Raw, that visit carried far more weight. Seth Rollins, recovering from a brutal encounter, sat in his hospital room, his arm in a sling, reflecting on the chaos that had unfolded. The attack had been sudden and overwhelming, leaving him in visible pain and frustration. And then, without warning, Roman Reigns arrived. No entourage, no cameras, no spectacle, just the tribal chief stepping quietly into the room. The tension was immediate. These were two men with decades of history, rivals, allies, and brothers in the Shield, now facing each other in a quiet hospital room. The setting. The hospital was calm, the usual hum of machines and occasional footsteps of passing nurses the only sound. Seth shifted in his bed, wincing as he adjusted his arm. The events on Raw still stung, the confrontation, the physical toll, and the realization that backstage dynamics were far more complex than he had imagined. The air was thick with anticipation, the kind that comes before an important conversation, one that could redefine alliances and strategies within WWE. The conversation begins. Seth looked up in surprise, still unsure whether this was a courtesy visit or something more. Roman, calm and composed, addressed him directly. "You shouldn't have been out there alone," he said. Those few words carried weight. It wasn't just concern, it was understanding, strategy, and an acknowledgement of the larger forces at play. For a moment, the past and present converge. Both men realized that their shared history, battles, victories, and betrayals, was the foundation for something greater. Assessing the threat. Roman didn't waste time. He began explaining that the recent attack on Seth wasn't random. The individuals involved, while capable in their own right, were influenced by forces trying to destabilize WWE's established order. Roman emphasized that this was a calculated attempt to undermine not just Seth, but the broader foundation of what they had built together. The message was clear. The threat was bigger than a single attack, and understanding it required collaboration and foresight. Strategy over sentiment. Seth, still in pain, listened intently. Roman's tone was measured, not aggressive, but undeniably commanding. "You've got your team, your vision, your brand," Roman said, "but they don't yet grasp the scale of what's coming. This isn't just an isolated incident. It's part of a broader picture." Seth's eyes darkened, the gears in his mind turning as he considered Roman's words. The idea that someone was maneuvering behind the scenes, attempting to disrupt alliances and test loyalties, changed the stakes entirely. Revisiting shared history. Roman reminded Seth of their past, of the days when the Shield stood united. No politics, no external influence, just three men aligned by vision and purpose. "You remember when it was just us?" Roman asked softly. The question wasn't rhetorical. It was a call to action. The fire that had once bonded them, the shared drive for excellence and dominance, was still present, waiting to be reignited. Seth, assessing his injuries and the challenges ahead, recognized the spark Roman was referring to. Project Rebuild. What emerged from the conversation was not simply a plan for retaliation. It was a strategy for transformation, something insiders have begun referring to as Project Rebuild. The concept was simple yet ambitious: reclaim influence, address vulnerabilities, and ensure that those who sought to manipulate or undermine WWE were met with calculated precision. Roman outlined the importance of targeting the instigators, understanding who was being influenced or misled, and creating a framework that allowed them to regain control over the narrative. Identifying the players, Roman's insight extended to potential traitors, those within Seth's own circle who might have inadvertently contributed to his recent setbacks. By carefully analyzing patterns and observing backstage interactions, Roman pinpointed areas where trust had been compromised. The goal wasn't vengeance for its own sake. It was about understanding the environment, identifying weak points, and ensuring that WWE's future was shaped by those who had earned their place through skill and strategy. Building the alliance for Seth, the hospital conversation served as both guidance and reassurance. Roman's visit signaled that while they had often been rivals, Their combined experience and insight could form a formidable alliance. By acknowledging past conflicts and focusing on shared objectives, the two began envisioning a path forward. The message was clear. Together, they could address threats, stabilize factions, and ensure that WWE's legacy remained in capable hands. Tactical planning. Roman detailed the shifting landscape across both brands, noting emerging factions, evolving power dynamics, and the ripple effects of recent storylines. He emphasized that those who were currently seen as rising stars or influencers might not be as autonomous as they appeared. Understanding these subtleties, anticipating moves, and positioning themselves strategically would be critical for Seth and Roman if they intended to reclaim their status and guide the company toward a controlled, intentional future. Rekindling the fire. The conversation wasn't just about tactics, it was also about motivation. Roman reminded Seth of the core principles that had always driven them: resilience, ingenuity, and the ability to rise above challenges. Seth's initial pain and frustration were acknowledged, but so too was his potential to respond strategically. Roman's quiet confidence reinforced the idea that setbacks were temporary, and with careful planning, the balance of power could shift back in their favor. Aligning vision and execution, Project Rebuild, as Roman framed it, required more than brute strength. It demanded vision, adaptability, and a nuanced understanding of the WWE landscape. Seth's role was to recover, strategize, and prepare for targeted actions that could disrupt attempts to manipulate outcomes. Roman's experience and insight provided a roadmap, ensuring that each step taken was deliberate, coordinated, and impactful. Together, their combined expertise could recalibrate not just their immediate surroundings, but the broader hierarchy within WWE. The psychological edge beyond physicality, Roman stressed the importance of perception, influence, and psychological strategy. Their presence, decisions, and actions would send signals throughout the roster. By maintaining a calm, controlled approach while others reacted impulsively, Seth and Roman could leverage uncertainty, realign allegiances, and position themselves as central forces capable of shaping outcomes. The goal wasn't simply to respond, it was to anticipate and dictate. The quiet agreement. For a brief moment, silence enveloped the hospital room. It wasn't awkward, it was understanding. Two men who had shared triumphs and rivalries recognized that the challenges ahead required collaboration, not confrontation. The agreement was unspoken but clear. Past differences would be secondary to a unified strategy designed to reclaim influence and secure their legacy within WWE. The broader implications. The implications of this meeting extend far beyond one hospital room. WWE's landscape, with its factions, alliances, and shifting power structures, could be reshaped by this renewed partnership. As both men recover, plan, and act, the effects will ripple across storylines, matchups, and character trajectories. Fans and insiders alike are now watching with renewed interest, anticipating how this alliance will manifest on Raw, SmackDown, and major pay-per-view events. Setting the stage, Roman's final words before leaving emphasized both caution and empowerment. They took their shot, but they miscalculated, he said. Seth understood the weight of that statement. It wasn't just reassurance, it was a directive, a call to prepare for strategic action while recovering and observing. Roman's exit left the room charged with anticipation, the kind of energy that only comes when two seasoned veterans decide to combine experience with opportunity.